Well, it's that time again to do what I love most, talking about villains. Or more specifically, Radio Antlers himself, Alastor. And based on the numbers my first video on him has, as well as my essay on the V's being my highest viewed video, I would wager that those of you watching enjoy such content as well. At least, I hope so, as there will be more videos like this in the future. And since we all know why we're here, this will be the extent of the intro for this video. However, I should specify that this is one part of a series of small videos about the strawberry-flavored Wendigo, so things don't become too jumbled and incoherent. That being said, let us begin and talk about the one item that never seems to leave the radio demon's side: his staff. When it comes to first impressions, his staff doesn't seem to be anything of special magnificence, since everyone has their own little item. Charlie has her pitchfork, Vaggie has her spear, Angel has his Tommy guns, Penchus has his hat, etc, etc, etc. And based on what we see in Stayed Gone and Ready for This, his item acts both as a microphone as well as a walking cane. Insert Lucius Malfoy reference here. By the way, before I go any further, there is one thing I should note regarding his pissing match with Vox. During Stayed Gone, whenever Alastor gets a line, he's clearly speaking into the staff's mic, which, I won't lie, is a very clever way of doing a broadcast. However, when he begins to hulk out, he puts it down and gives a farewell to those who could be listening, not too dissimilar to his send-off in the pilot.
Tune on in now. Stay tuned.
And also not something that the denizens of hell wouldn't be too familiar with. Sinners with influence and power trying to see who can be top dog is something that the Pride Ring has seen time and time again for centuries by this point. However, notice that his final lines in the song involve him leaning forward and gazing out at Pentagram City, with the staff as well as the mic nowhere near his mouth. In this moment, he's addressing Vox, and only Vox, instead of throwing down a gauntlet for the public to place bets on. Sure, the city is momentarily without power, but that doesn't mean that Vox himself still isn't getting a signal. In fact, it would be stranger if he didn't. The radio demon wants the 1080p demon to know that when the time is right, he'll be coming for him, and he'll enjoy every second of it. And I think he wanted Vox to blow his fuse the way he did, just so he can address him directly without any outside interference. Say what you will about his petty and twisted nature, but Alastor is certainly someone who knows how to get his point across, and he'll be damn sure you understand where he's coming from. Anyways, back on topic. When looking back at certain scenes throughout the show, the staff seems to be more than just a walking cane and microphone for the radio demon. Let's take a look at this scene from the pilot.
Well, this just won't do. I suppose I can cash in a few favors to liven things up.
Pray tell, if you own the souls of Husk and Nifty, why would you be calling in favors to bring them into the fold? And secondly, it was established by Vaggie moments prior that you're one of the strongest and most devious overlords that Hell's seen in quite some time. So again, what favor are you calling in? In fact, we've got numerous scenes from across the show where he appears to be addressing the staff directly, almost as though he's speaking to it like it's an old friend. Which leads me to believe that the staff itself may indeed be his own item, but since we know that someone has got him leashed, I theorize that perhaps the staff also acts as a conduit of sorts for channeling power into his being. Hence the need to call in a favor to use, what appears to be, anyway, minor bits of his own power, considering what we see him doing later on, or even the paradox of calling in a favor to use your own power or to nab the souls that you already own. So in the pilot, when we see him do this,
Hello? Is this thing on? Testing? Testing?
that could be him calling his handler as a request to use his abilities, or to even ask for more power. I had mentioned in the essay that questioned whether or not Alastor summoned Mimsy to the hotel, that I had some thoughts about where he had gone off to when he did his little vanishing act. And I can finally voice them here. Right after he comes back from wherever he slinked off to, maybe he dipped to the location of where his handler is and asked for more power, whether it be his own or otherwise, since he knew that he couldn't keep up with Lucifer on his lonesome. He also does quite a bit of shadow traveling throughout this episode specifically, which, at first glance, doesn't quite add up, unless he's just trying to be a dick, which fits his MO. Although, upon further speculation, if the staff does indeed work as a conduit for channeling power, and since whoever controls him is either Rue or the Hell Queen, perhaps him traveling around like that was done involuntarily. Lucifer, despite being incredibly socially awkward and depressed, is no fool, and could most likely spot the indicators of him being under the thumb of another. So him fast traveling around the hotel could be his master trying to get him out of there while the King of Hell was around, so his secret would not be revealed, and he was strong enough to actively resist for a time, which could give his eye twitch when Lucifer first arrives new meaning, if he could sense someone beginning to tug him away from the hotel. It's quite clear that the Wendigo wants to be the top dog, apex predator of hell, and being reminded of the fact that he's nowhere near that threshold by the mere presence of Lucifer, or someone trying to pull him away, doesn't quite sit well with him. Or he was simply just trying to be a dick, and him vanishing for that couple seconds in the foyer could be him loosening the chandelier, which fell near Lucifer at a rather unique point in time. We've seen him crush the Short King with the piano in their duet, so that's also a possibility. And if the staff does indeed serve such a purpose, it makes his battle with Adam far more interesting than initially believed. During such time, we see him summon a force field around the hotel, with eyes within it, which leans more towards him being under Rue's control. However, I wouldn't rule out Charlie's mom as a candidate just yet, since they vanished around the same time, and Alastor is conveniently absent during the Heaven episode. And we see him direct the tendrils and little demons he summons with his staff, but that's not what makes this fight interesting. At least not entirely, as the fight itself is fun, and you can't tell me that when you saw them square up, that you weren't grinning from ear to ear. Notice that, during the battle, Alastor never uses the staff itself as a weapon in the same way as Adam using his guitar. It's more like a wizard's wand as opposed to your typical weapon. Until we get this scene here.
What just happened? Fuck.
Now, before I can give any analysis for this, I must first make mention of the Radio Demon's appearance during finale, so things can come full circle in a coherent manner. His lyrics, which I cannot play as I do not wish to get a copyright strike, involve him talking about feeling hungry for freedom like never before, and wanting to be free of the deal he made as he lays his broken staff down and begins to look more and more unhinged as he paces about the tower. I theorize that he knew that he couldn't beat Adam. He didn't even have any angelic steel on his side, so I think that he was simply drawing things out until he could throw the fight in one form or another. Using your staff as a shield seems like a weak defense when you can summon shields or dodge attacks that were directly in front of you, like you've acquired a type of sixth sense. So, when he goes...
Fuck.
I think that perhaps what he wanted to happen happened too early or not in the way that he wanted. Hence why his shadow is noticeably frowning when he's thrown into the wall. And the reason for possibly throwing the fight? Well, if the now damaged item in question does indeed act as a manner of channeling power, perhaps he had acquired enough of it, whether it be his own from his overlord days or otherwise, to keep himself afloat and be dangerous enough for any who may oppose him to be on guard. The fact that we see quite a substantial amount of eyes in his radio tower all but confirms this for me, as Helva Boss's episode Full Moon proves that the eyes don't belong to deceased sinners and most likely belong to Rue. There's also no evidence to show that they were present within the tower before this moment either. Granted, in Stayed Gone, we don't see a lot of the tower's insides, but we see enough to show us that he is indeed alone in there. And being that they didn't show up until after the staff was broken at the end of the season speaks volumes. At least to me. And if it is true that his staff wasn't just an item, but rather what I theorize it to be, and he has indeed gathered enough power by this point to be deadly even without it, then I believe that in the future we'll begin to see a side of Alastor that could be even more wicked and twisted than ever before. We could even see a return to the radio demon of old that Mimsy described if he wasn't held down by such restraints. But for that, we'll just need to wait and see. In the meantime, if you liked what you heard, please do smash that like button, comment down below what you think, and feel free to add your own thoughts on what purpose you think the staff could serve. And don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell, as I will have more coming for Alastor very soon, as well as some essays for the upcoming spooky season. With that being said, Godspeed, and I hope to see each of you in the next installment.